Saturday, and it's time to kick off the Experts program here on Power Talk Radio, and that means our tech expert, Luis Alvarez, joining us once again. Hello, Luis, and welcome to Saturday.
Thank you, Mark. How are you today?
I'm doing really well. It is the 21st, and I believe we are supposed to have a non-rainy day today. All right, hey, let's jump into a really interesting tech story today, and there's a company out there called DoNotPay, and they feature an AI robot lawyer that will help you with speeding tickets in court. This is fascinating. What in the world is this, and how does it work?
So if you've ever gotten a speeding ticket, and sadly I have, not a long time, but once I did, and when you go in and you stand in front of the judge to argue the ticket, you're not allowed to have a lawyer present. You are there defending yourself. It's that kind of ticket. So you can't really bring in an attorney unless you're charged with something criminally. So a lot of people that go in, really, this is the first time they've ever been in front of a judge. They're nervous. They may have a case to prove, but they just don't know what to say. So what this company has done, it's called DoNotPay, is that they've created an artificial intelligence tool that you can take into court with you, and you wear essentially you're wearing an earbud, and it coaches you based on what it hears the judge saying on how you can defend yourself and get out of paying that ticket. Now, in some jurisdictions, that is completely illegal. You're not allowed to have anything like that. But this company says that they're going to be testing this in real life in the next few weeks. They're not telling us where or when or who is going to be representing it, but they want to do basically a proof of concept in court to show that their technology can help people get out of paying for speeding tickets, or at least getting them reduced to the point where, instead of paying hundreds of dollars, you may pay a fine of just a few bucks based on the argument that you can give.
Sure. And I guess, one of the things with the reason why most courts don't allow lawyers to represent people for most speeding tickets or parking tickets, those kinds of things, is because a traffic court is really a pack them in, pack them out kind of thing, right? They have to, because there is such a huge volume of people contesting tickets that if you were to bring lawyers in, like in a traditional civil or criminal case, it would take way too long for the court to go through these cases, and then the court load gets really, really backed up, and they just can't get through them in a speedy manner. So the judges, I guess it's always been this way, that unless it's one of the most egregious type speeding cases, you don't get to bring a lawyer in with you. And so with that in mind, even though this isn't a real lawyer, I have a couple questions about this. Is it legal in California? I can't imagine that even where it's legal, the courts wouldn't look kind of askance at this. And then I have to wonder what the American Bar Association's opinion of this is.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because this is just the latest example of artificial intelligence startups popping up to basically do what traditional lawyers do for a fraction of the cost, and not just defending you in court, but also filing paperwork and doing estates and all the sorts of stuff that lawyers do on a daily basis that costs us, the public, thousands of dollars to have an attorney do it. They're arguing that their AIs can do it for a lot less money, and they are just as good as attorneys that pass the bar. And now the bar, of course, has its own opinion about that, and they are fighting some of these companies in court to try to have them not be able to claim some of the claims that they are making about being as good as a human attorney. So we'll have to see where this goes. But it just goes to show that AI is becoming a big thing. A lot of people think that 2023 is really a turning point with AI having matured to the point where it's going to be ubiquitous. But, we're used to asking Siri and Alexa for information on a regular basis, but now you're going to be able to do it in a much more natural way and get back information that is much more valuable, and not just go online and take a look at this article that might be helpful to you.
Right. And I noticed that this company, this DoNotPay, they say that they will pay anyone with an upcoming case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court $1 million to wear AirPods and let the robot lawyer argue the case. Now, that's really fascinating, but when you think of how few cases the Supreme Court hears on an annual basis, do you really want to risk it? I mean, if you were one of the lucky few that would have a really important case in front of the Supreme Court, you're going to leave the arguing of that to an AI lawyer?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't know.
I don't think so.
And then the other thing, go ahead.
Really good publicity, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere with it.
Well, and then a lot of people who argue in front of the Supreme Court would be very much against this, because what you got to remember is by virtue of the fact that it's the Supreme Court, cases that appear in front of the justices tend to be precedent setting. And there is so much on the line with any case in front of the Supreme Court that the risk of having an AI lawyer talking to you through earpods blowing the case, not only does it affect you and your particular interest, but what about all the other people with related cases out there across the country? Now you've screwed them. You might find yourself being sued for malpractice.
Yep, exactly. And I'm sure that if the person loses, they're going to turn around and claim that they should get a second bite at the apple because they were duped into doing something that they wouldn't normally do. So right. I doubt seriously that anybody will take them up on it, but it's good publicity. Let's see, sure is. They're going to get some notoriety out of it.
Hey, I ran into something interesting lately regarding wireless service and cell phones that I wanted to share with everyone, Louis. And for a long time, at least 10 years now, I've used the Straight Talk wireless service, which is an MVNO, and that's a mobile virtual network operator. And Straight Talk is like Pure Talk and Mint and a bunch of the others. They buy their bandwidth, they buy their airtime from one of the big three, Sprint, T-Mobile, Verizon, or AT&T. Well, last year in November of 21 actually, Carlos Slim, who founded Straight Talk, sold it to Verizon. Now, when Slim founded Straight Talk, for years, they bought their airtime from AT&T. So every cell phone that was on the Straight Talk network had an AT&T SIM in it. That's how it operated. So once Verizon took over Straight Talk, they started sending out messages to their customers saying, hey, you need to get a Straight Talk SIM that's a Verizon SIM for your phone because at a certain point we're going to turn the network off. Well, in the case of yours truly, they turned the network off at 9 o'clock Saturday morning, December 31st, 2022, and my phone went dead. Yeah. So I talked to the CSR customer service rep on the phone at Straight Talk, and they said, oh, you need to get a Verizon chip, a Verizon SIM. So I went out to the Walmart store, and the guy said, we don't have any Verizon SIMs here. He didn't know. He said, you need to go to like Best Buy. So I go to Best Buy, and I buy a SIM. They're only like $10. I put the SIM in the phone. It lights up and shows Verizon network, but then when I call Straight Talk back to get it activated, they couldn't activate it at all. And this went on for like 3 days. Finally, I got a CSR at Straight Talk that knew what they could talk straight. They knew what they were talking about. And they said, oh, where did you say you got the SIM? I said, I bought a Verizon SIM at Best Buy. And they said, no, you have to go to Walmart and get a Straight Talk SIM kit because the SIMs that are in that SIM kit are Verizon SIMs, but we have like a block of SIMs. We have a block of numbers that is portioned over to Straight Talk service. So a regular Verizon SIM isn't going to work on our network. You have to go and buy one of their SIM kits. Oh, I wish I'd known that ahead of time. But none of the other CSRs that I talked to even knew about that distinction. So then when I went over there and I got the SIM kit, and the people in the store don't even know about it, I had to educate the guy at the tech counter and say, look, this is what you can expect going forward. All of these SIM kits now have Verizon SIMs. If you've got really old SIM kits, if you've got any SIM kits in here prior to like 2022, you better get rid of them because they probably have AT&T SIM cards in them. So they're going to go through their stuff and make sure. But that's what's going on now. And people need to be aware of that because at a certain point, if they haven't upgraded to that different SIM, they're going to get their service turned off. Yep. And it happens just like that. And it was a big hassle to figure it out and get it going. And finally, they got it working. And if you have an older iPhone, an 11, a 13, or an SE, it can sometimes take up to 72 hours to transition you on the network once you have the correct SIM card in your phone. So just a lot of things for folks to be aware of going forward so that they know what to expect.
Yeah, well, I think I'm glad that you shared that with people because I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other folks out there that may be impacted by that right now. They're trying to figure out what to do.
Right. All right. That's Louis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, with us today online. AlvarezTG.com. @AlvarezTG is the Twitter handle. Louis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.